Hi there, Glenn Meirendorf from Sound Sanctuary Austin, here with a very special guest, Lenny Coco Mayeux.
Yep, Mayeux from the Bayou.
The Mayeux from the Bayou. See, I mispronounced it. We were just joking about his nickname, Coco. I think that's hilarious. My nickname was the Count.
That's much better than Coco.
Means I was a little bougie.
Yes.
But welcome, guys. We're here to do a little talk about all things turntables and vinyl and analog in general. And Lenny's been with me many times in this shop, tweaking my tables, and he's provided a lot of wisdom to my knowledge as a dealer. But thought we just sort of talk about, like, where do you start with vinyl and where do you end?
Well, to me, vinyl is very similar to owning a really great classic muscle car. First, you have to say, hey, I'm willing to work on this, set it up, have a little maintenance. But that's the fun of it. So once you understand that's what I like, I want to actually set up my table and work with it and clean my records. That's part of the fun of it. Then we're on the first part of the analog journey. Because I did a great pro and con one time of analog versus digital, and it really wasn't about one being better, one being worse. It's how you enjoy it. If you, yeah, exactly. If you're gonna want to listen to just one song and fast forward, analog's not for you. It doesn't matter how it sounds, but if you want to sit back in the pocket and just really enjoy your music and enjoy your skill, this is one of the few products besides speaker placement that your skill, your enjoyment is part of the actual performance. How well you set it up, what kind of geometry. So it starts a lifetime of enjoyment and a lifetime of connection to the music. And like I was telling Glenn earlier, I like digital. I compare it to a really fresh, crisp Chardonnay. Something you can drink quickly, it's always good, but reds you savor. Red, you have to put it in it aerated. You have to put it in a
decanter.
A decanter. You have to decanter it. All these things, but you sit there and you look at the legs and how rich and deep. It's like a deep burgundy to me. So it's just different. So if I have people coming over and I want to build a playlist, that is digital all day long. But if I want to sit in the pocket and really enjoy, that's analog. So first you start, hey, am I that customer? If you are, then I'd say, okay, what is my budget? Because right now, it is the heyday of good tables. You know, I'm not saying that $1,200 to $2,000 is inexpensive, but to have a lifetime investment in something that will bring you pleasure and really enhance your life, you can get that now in analog. And to get that 20 years ago, you would have to spend 10 times as much to get that kind of performance that you're getting out of what we call entry-level tables into high-end audio. Like my company owns Music Hall, and I was telling Glenn, get this Stealth. I mean, this Stealth table is direct drive. It's got its own arm with a separate VTA collar, so you can do VTA, comes with an Ortofon Blue cartridge. That's a plug-and-play table ready to go. But the performance of that table is a magnitude advance compared to what you would have got as an entry-level table 15 years ago. Yeah, you'd have had this old kind of press board Sony with a plastic sub-platter and a belt that kind of wobbled. These are really fine tables. So this is the time that you can really get into it. Now, after that, if it grabs you and gets you, that's where having a store like Sound Sanctuary is so important. Really, the second thing you need in analog is someone you trust. Find a dealer you trust that can listen to what you want, understand your needs, and say, you know what, direct drive would work best for you. Or I think you would like a belt drive. Let's listen to a few. And they can really help you with this investment, because I don't know of another product that has so many options. What cartridge, what arm, what kind of cable, is it encapsulated, is it a DIN, what kind of phono stage? There's so many questions. So really, the number one component you have in analog is someone you trust. Do not try to buy analog by, committee or just reading. It will lead you in paths that make no sense. Like I know people that still today will say direct drives, terrible. They're terrible direct drives. Never get a direct drive. And my answer to that is show me a belt drive lathe. We use motors to cut those grooves. Why can't we use a motor to take those grooves off? So that's where, that doesn't fly with me. Direct drive has its purpose. Find the customer you think would work well with that and then kind of lead them into that path. So really the most important component to me when it comes to analog is someone you trust. And that's me. Even when I buy something and I'm spending my money, I'll call one of the manufacturers like Mika from EMT that I love, and I'll get a second opinion even from those guys. Because he'll say, yeah, but I know you like these cartridges and that arm may be a little heavy for that. So let's try this arm. So, and that's something I didn't think of. I was bifurcating my thinking. I like arm, I like cartridge, but I wasn't thinking of the compatibility. Synergy, yeah, as a buyer, as a setup guy and selling it, I always do that. But when I was buying it, I was just getting excited. So I even have someone I call to get a second opinion.
Lenny, I'd almost roll back a little bit more. I mean, this is a very basic kind of answer. Is a lot of the, in my new store location, I get a lot of just people walking by, and what do I have in the window? Turntables. And they're like, I want a record player. And they come in, but they have no idea what the range of prices or things are. So what I do is I take them through a little journey of, here's what a $400 turntable with a very inexpensive moving magnet sounds like. It's like, wow, it plays music. It sounds all right. Then I play an $800 table with a moving magnet. It's like, okay. And that's basically where I think a starter table for an adult kind of really is.
I agree with that.
And then that next leap up to sort of higher price moving magnets on something like the Stealth. So I'll play the Stealth and I'm like, okay. And then we do the final leap to the beginning of moving coil cartridges, where that's the real separation between entry level dollars that are seemingly reasonable and dollars that are a bit steeper. And of course you're gonna break a cartridge, you're gonna break a needle sometime in your life. And thinking like, oh my God, the needle is $2,500 or $10,000 or yeah, it is. But like what that needle can do versus the moving magnet is interesting to show people. It's like, see, the dollars do have a difference. The technology does have a difference. Let's see where you're ready to start on that spectrum. And I think you're gonna get over here eventually, but let's get you some hours with the turntable at home first.
You see, that's the perfect approach. And it goes back to what I was saying, trust.
Yeah.
You are taking them through a journey. They may not even know what moving magnet, moving iron, moving coil means, or what kind of coil impedance and, output into a, certain kinds of phono stages. That can get people kind of glazed over.
Well, and you don't start at that geek.
No, you start with the
get you one that just plays with a tone arm that's not all that tweaky. Now, it can't pull everything out like the process that you described, where your labors are really rewarded. Well, but it gives you that first taste.
It does, but even then, I've seen new analog enthusiasts get a very basic entry level like music hall table, but there were questions. They ask questions. Well, what is the geometry? Why would I do these things? And again, even on that little table, they can go through that process. There's a lot of similarities between a $200 table and a $2 million table. It's got a platter, it's got a bearing, it's got some kind of device that takes a wiggle and turns it into electrical, mechanical, that turns into music. Those are the basic things, like a combustion engine in cars, 4 wheels, some kind of suspension, an engine. There are some basic building blocks. So once you realize that, that's what's so great about your journey. You're kind of showing them all the similarities, but then stepping them up through the differences. And what I like about that approach is eventually they're going to hear something that they love, and then you show them something above it, and they're like, well, I'm okay with that. Then you have that.
You've got a goal.
You have a goal, you can meet that goal. But really, I think what's important with analog is getting the customer involved. That's what's so good about brick and mortar stores, why I love to work with the independent retailers, is it's hard to buy vinyl over the phone and just by clicking, add to cart. This is something that has to be curated. It's almost bespoke tables. I'll talk to somebody, and if they're telling me they love this kind of music, in my head I'm like, well, this table would work better for them. I know that. What kind of speakers do you have? What kind of, if they have big speakers with big woofers, I know they like a lot of bass output.
Is there a cat in the household?
Yes, absolutely. How many kids are there? And that's another thing. I've set up really nice rigs for people and they want to get into, well, I think you told me the same thing, analog, but they have some young teenagers or some 10, 11s, they're going to be doing.
I'm working on right now.
Exactly.
There is a turntable that matches the rest of the system, and I think the client's intrigued, but then I can almost hear him thinking, I'd like my daughter to use this, but geez, the needle is what? And it's a valid concern. So I'm almost going, hey, let's do something like the Stealth, where that's not inexpensive, but it'll perform. But the cartridge on that, if we replace it, is in the hundreds. It's not a big deal. And that's often, especially with a family situation, until the family understands how to use it and respects the fragility of it and enjoys it, breaks it once, gets in a little bit of trouble, but not in a whole lot of trouble, is sometimes the way they enter the thing.
But it's still a worthy investment, the Stealth, because here's the thing. If they're get really into it, they take that table, and then somebody else gets the really nice table, and they know how to use a table. So it's still something that can be shared throughout the household. It reminds me of a story of EMT. The owner and designer of EMT in Switzerland is named Mika Huber. I went to his house, and he was telling me his story. He went home, and his turntable was missing. He's like, well, that doesn't make sense. So he's asking, has anybody seen it? His daughter goes, yeah, I brought it to my room. I'm going to have that. So you, Papa, can get the new reference table. Like she's doing him a favor. But that's what that reminds me of.
Make room for you, Papa.
Yeah, that's what she said. I did you a favor, Papa. Now you can get the reference table.
That's cute.
And great family. And that's part of what I love about analog is, Mika Huber is a watch designer. He's a prototype designer in Switzerland. And he doesn't wear a watch because that's not what drives him. What drives him is making turntables, making them so precise, so perfect. And he really does have a goal of trying to build a table with very few performance parameters.
Compromises?
Yeah, compromises in a small package. There's a lot of big, great tables, but they're big. 2, 3, and they take a lot of space, and you might have an elegant aesthetic. Like in this room, it's art. It doesn't scream audiophile. But if you want a great performance, you want a jeweled table, small, elegant, fine performance. So I always call that a Ferrari, and the big tables are a Hummer. Great engineering, does what it does, but they're big. And to me, the real elegance is, can you get that same performance in a small package that sounds big? We just did a show in Washington, D.C. called Capitol Audio Fest. And if you look at Michael Lavorgne's, I think, I'm not really sure, but it's in the Absolute Sound. The first room he talks about is the room that has Talus EMT in it. And that's what he talked about, how small it was, but how ginormous it sounds. So that's what he wanted it to be, is no one's surprised when big speakers sound big, but when little speakers sound big, people are surprised. Nobody's surprised when a big table sounds big and dynamic, but when a small table sounds enormous, that's really incredible.
So the EMT 928 that we have behind us, very sleek, and again, not a large table. This thing weighs it's deceptively heavy. It's basically a solid aluminum billet that's been routed out from the motor and parts of it. Like a lot of it is just a solid slab of metal.
It starts out as a big block, and then it's all machined from there. It's no two pieces. The only other piece that comes with it are the 4 feet and the actual platter that sits on it. Everything is machined out of this one piece.
Yeah.
But what he likes to do about that is, because of that, he understands the resonance qualities. So then he can damp it. And he really likes a sub platter with the motor very close to the sub platter. So there's always tension on the belt, and it is a very linear, and the way it drives it on the bearing is low. So you have a very good tension where if you have a high belt and it sits on the platter, it can kind of pull toward the motor where you have more force. Where he puts the motor very close to the table and has a large sub platter. So then it has no what I call force vector error. It's not pushing toward a force vector. So he gets what other people are doing with 2 or 3 motors, he's doing that with 1 motor. And one of the advantages of that is it's quieter. So I really like his approach. When we talk about power conditioning and speed regulation, it's an AC motor, it's a DC motor, he's on a whole nother level. You plug it into the AC mains, and then there's a battery pack that charges and feeds directly to a DC motor. So it's a DC signal going directly to a DC motor, not rectified. And what's cool about that is you're decoupled from the wall. So voltage can move around.
Wall current doesn't matter.
Or noise, you're decoupled. And when you're talking about analog, noise is a big deal. So he gets great speed regulation, very low noise floor, and that's why they sound so big. That's one of the secrets he has, is he drops the noise floor so low that, and a few times this happened at that show, people would walk in and not realize we're spinning records. They thought we're streaming. Because it's so big and it has such a low noise floor, the first people think is this is the best digital I've ever heard. And it's not, but they don't walk in instantly thinking analog, because when people think analog, it's some of the artifacts of analog, pops and clicks. You don't have to have any of that. What makes analog great is the way that you connect with it. Because we, in the world, are analog. We're analog humans.
More alive.
It's more human.
Yeah.
You know, it's less digital processing in your brain. It is and what I like about it is it forces you to listen to music. It forces you to have to sit and really sit in that pocket.
Yeah, I have over 3,000 LPs. Been very fortunate to find gifting opportunities. I bought a few too. But it's almost remember how I got, you could pull out almost any album and I could tell you where that came from. You know, there's a couple special ones where I remember, reading an article about Echo and the Bunnymen in Rolling Stone at the back of my high school English teachers, and I'm like, this band sounds really interesting. And I went and I bought that album in Boardman, Ohio, and I still have it, right? So that one's a pretty deep connection because that became one of my favorite bands in college, and I would say forever, but like that, I really love Echo and the Bunnymen.
They're good.
And then just some of these ones, like, okay, those are for my parents. That one's for my aunt. This is from that hall from, I was fortunate enough to run into a guy who had managed David Bowie, Paul McCartney, Black Sabbath, all these bands during the 70s. He had 3,000 records, and a buddy and I split them. And he just wanted to tell his stories of rock and roll and his life managing these things and the experiences. And he wanted to tell his stories and have it go to a person that was going to play it, not sell it.
See, I love that story.
I like that story.
I do too. One of the things that I think, to me, a really great hi-fi system's 2 things. One, it's a museum. Stevie Ray's not with us anymore. We're in Austin. So what we have left is his art. He painted on silence. His canvas was silence, and he filled it with magic, with music. That's his art. And just like a great museum, we hang that art between these 2 speakers. And I don't care if you have the world's biggest art book that shows all the masterpieces, it's not the same as seeing it live, seeing it at a museum, where I realized the Mona Lisa's tiny. Salvador Dali's are a whole wall. In that book, they look the same scale. A great hi-fi system gives you scale. They give you color. You walk in, you see the imperfections, you see the humanity of it, the brushstrokes of it. It is a museum in our house.
Yeah, and we want to get close to a live experience as possible, and great hi-fi is that.
Right.
It's not Stevie Ray's in that speaker, it's Stevie Ray's in front of me.
Stevie Ray exists. We recreated him. We recreated his art. What we have is his art. He's an artist. And it's also, coming to your first point, it's a time machine. The better the system, the more palpable the reaction to the first time you heard this song. The first time, oh my God, I remember kissing this girl to this song. And I remember her perfume. I remember that. And it's important because music is memory, man. That's what we have. That's what we hold on to. Why we have pictures. Why do we call friends? Why do we look at, why does Facebook exist? Because memory is magic. And hi-fi systems are a time machine. I was listening to Journey's Faithfully. I mean, it was at night and I put this on.
Oh, you saw.
And I was transported back to Lake Charles, Louisiana, Our Lady, Queen of Heaven, junior high, at a dance. I saw the Bad Fog Machine.
Were you dancing like that?
Yes, dancing with a girl named Tara Bassett. Hey, Tara. And I remember Sister Gloria saying, the Holy Spirit. You couldn't dance. You had to have enough room for the Holy Spirit. Yeah. And I called her the next day. I said, do you remember that? And she goes, no. I'm like, you need a hi-fi system. She says, you need a life.
That's a great story.
But yeah, it's so much more than little pieces of vinyl spinning around. It's heart and soul, man, in there. Stevie suffered for his art. Suffered in many ways. Lost romance, lost wives, lost brain cells. He literally died for his art, man.
Yeah,
so
leaving a concert.
Yeah, I think that should be taken seriously. Mm-hmm. And that's why music's important to me. It's not just something, and that's kind of why I think I connect more with analog than I do digital. It just being in the air and streaming is convenient and it's cool. And, I love streaming because at any day I can listen to an unlimited amount of music. But when I want to connect, I want to read the liner notes. I want to put that on there and hear the art, not the sound. Many things can make sound. Things make music. I want music. I want to connect with music. And one of the things I like truly about analog now, when we were talking, is not just the tables, what we're doing with the releases. MoFi just did all the Van Halen and, we've got, Michael Jackson. We're not a label that does audiophile music. We're a label that remasters great music better. It doesn't have a label, man. We go from Miles Davis to Run DMC. One of the records I brought is one of my favorite records, Parliament Funkadelic. Brought it to this event. I want to spin that. Not because it's a great MoFi pressing. It is. Because I love the record, man. I just dig that music. I'm happy it's there. So I think really one of the most important things about analog now is you can go to Target and buy Taylor Swift, which I did. It was there. I bought it. I love it. Sat down, listened to it. I wouldn't stream it though. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have streamed it. I wouldn't have seen it on my streamer and said, but when I saw her in that picture and I brought Sabrina Carpenter too, I'm like, well, both of them are cute. I'm gonna buy both of them. Wake up.
No.
But that's what I love about it. Get kids into it, man. My niece called me the other day. She lives in Minnesota. She calls them vinyls, which I don't understand.
Yeah,
I just got some new vinyls. Uncle Lenny, I'm like, is that like siding? What are you talking about, new vinyls, man? And they're like, they're LPs, long playing. There's records, they're albums, vinyls. But that's what she says. God bless her. Buy your vinyls. But she got, believe it or not, Doobie Brothers, greatest hits. And I got her a turntable and she called to tell me how many layers she heard of instruments on Blackwater, where they keep on adding it. Oh, Blackwater. And she just was so...
And then you told her, and they were all actually people playing instruments.
Absolutely.
They were just samples.
They weren't, and there's no sample, and she loved it. So I sent her some more music, knowing she likes that 70s kind of thing. So I sent her some Kenny Loggins, and I understand what she's after. So I kind of got her into some Steely, and now it's opened up her whole mind, and she is an opinionated audiophile now, calling me like,
Has she come to you with a deep track that you didn't really remember yet?
Yes,
That's
something.
What freaks me out was when like a 12 or like a 15-year-old kid comes at you with a song that is from like 72 and they know it and I don't.
Well, she picked up a weird disco kind of dance record at some like thrift store and I'd never heard of it, and she told me about it and I got it and it was funky and it was incredible. And at that time we kind of make fun of disco, but Giorgio Moroder is, one of the greatest inventors of what modern music is. That's why.
And they were all playing, though. They were all playing.
Oh, they big bands, good bands. I mean, really, if you look at the midnight special, Donna Summer doing Last Dance, that's a whole orchestra it took to get that one track done with a conductor. And it had to be in time. So these were big productions. And I kind of forgot that. And she got this record and it was so funky and perfect. But she had never heard of Rufus and Shaka Khan. So I'm like, well, I got something for you. So we're now going back and forth with funk. And it's just beautiful that I get to share that with Lily. Her name's Lily. She's my oldest brother's daughter, lives in, Minnesota. And that's the name of my grandmother. So every time I just kind of feel this love of my family and music and audio. And if I can inspire anybody, I'm happy. I'm cool with that. But really, entry-level tables, more dealers are getting really good at, like what Glenn's doing, finding you the perfect table, and music. So it's the trifecta. It's the big three. It's Miami. It's LeBron, and Dwayne. And Bosch, Chris. But that's the big three. For a while, tables were getting great, but there was no software. You'd have to buy old stuff or your new stuff. Now it's new pressings. I mean, we are pressing all kind of just great music. And what I love about it is we're not getting so jaded that I have this, great hi-fi system. I can only listen to this, or I can only listen to this. I have so many customers like, I love this. And they almost look embarrassed. I love the Cyndi Lauper MoFi. I'm like, so do I love Cyndi Lauper. Why are you looking down? Look up. That's a great cut, man. So I just want people to enjoy it, to love it, connect with it. Be that big red wine, that Bordeaux. Spin it around, look at it, enjoy it. Don't just sit there and drink it. And whites are to be drunk. That's what, you listen to digital. And you can love digital, and it's very convenient. But analog's to be savored. It's to be sat down, and you have to set it up and want to listen to that. And once you do, those dividends pay off in spades. But if anything I can convey is find a dealer you trust, and they really will help you with this. Because you may get there and you love it, and a lot of people, when they're first getting into a turntable, they have a bigger budget than they say. You're scared. And then they get there and like, I should have gone. And you're like, you don't have to. What I did was sell you a really great table, but I got you a budget cartridge. Let's get you a good cartridge now. Boom, an instant upgrade. It's tough to do that with digital, man. And it's tough to do that with speakers. You got to get new speakers. You can't put in new drivers. So that's the great thing about analog. You can start out modestly and end up really nice with that same foundation.
Under 2,000 and having great sound. That actually is, it is the world of analog.
And then buy records.
Digital.
Yep. So, you've got to, understand that digital is wonderful. And it seems like I'm bashing it. I am not. I have a Hi-Fi Row streamer. I have playlist. I use it like an analog vetting. I will listen at night, and I found this French band that did covers of Allman Brothers, but it was Statesboro Blues, and it was incredible. And I would have if I would have heard it, I would have bought that record. Guess what? Statesboro Blues was incredible. Everything else wasn't so great. So I downloaded that one song, and that's good. That's all I need. I would have spent that. Then I had another song I listened to. And then I listened to more tracks. I'm like, no, I want to own that. I want to savor this record. I just don't want to drink it. I just don't want to download it to a list. I want to I want to read the liner notes. I want to clean that. I want to hold it. I want to connect with it. I want that diamond and that groove, and I can hear what those players are playing. And to me, that's what I enjoy. That's why I do this. I enjoy that connection. And I hope more people get into this because again, you can buy records at Target, at Walmart. There's so many avenues to buy such great vinyl.
At the used record store is the best place to go.
Absolutely, man. Hi-fi shops, come in, man. They're doing new records, and they'll have old records that they sell. A few the shops down in San Diego where I live, they have huge record bins. But yeah, I if I can get in, come into hi-fi shops. They want to inspire you.
Show you the difference.
Yeah. I mean, they bought this stuff too. Just like you buy something, you wanted your neighbor to come hear your rig. They want you to come hear this stuff. They really do. They spend time and effort. I got here before the place opened. We're setting up turntables all day. I think we set up 3 or 4. I don't know how many we set up. But, we work hard on this. So we appreciate when you come by. It's not even to buy, but to sit and listen and be inspired and tell your friends. I think the best audio salespeople are your neighbor. Get involved. If you love it, tell somebody you love it. Tell the guy behind you at the grocery store, you ever heard analog? I know a place.
Well, anyway, thanks, Lenny. I mean, I guess the part 2 of my question is, where do you start on vinyl?
You start with a great dealer.
And
there.
Where do you end? And the answer is you never end.
You never end. And you know what? It's the same as the start. Even the end's a great dealer. Because as you upgrade, they can help you with that. And I've seen dealers say, you know what? You're of an age where you're not as sure as you need to be. I don't know if you need a $15,000 cartridge. I don't feel good about selling that.
How do you choose to reward yourself, though?
I understand that. You do it with a better phono stage. That's what I'm saying. You can get them that cartridge, but upgrade that. Because I know some, customers, they don't, they're going to break that cartridge. And as much as I would like to sell them over and over again, nothing breaks my heart more than I had a customer wait 6 months for a diamond cantilevered Koetsu that lasted 2 days.
2 days. Ooh.
He dropped it right on that edge, and it's a very brittle and broke. And he says, Lenny, what do I do? I'm like, cry? Yeah, I don't know. But again, a dealer is where you start. A dealer is where you finish. Trust is important, and let them and yourself figure out your analog journey. It's not digital. This is my rack. This is good. I put it. It's something you can buy today, and 6 years later, you're still working on it. It's like that muscle car, man. You're putting on new rims. You get new valve, whatever it is, to just tweak it out, and you're there wrenching on it. That's beautiful to me, man. Right. That's just incredible. So, to answer your question, and not a Lenny 40 billion word answer, is start with a good dealer and then do that journey you're talking about. Just kind of show them what the price increments are. Yeah. And then you can help them finish that path. And sometimes they're okay. They get to that $2,000 price point and all they do is buy records, and God bless them. I love that as well. If you reach your limit, that's great. I have yet to reach my limit, but hopefully one day I will.
Sounds amazing. Thanks, Lenny.
Yeah, man.
See y'all soon. We'll be spinning.
Take care.
Lenny Coco.
That is my middle name. People think it's a nickname. It's actually my middle name.
Is it Lenny Coco?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to call you Lenny Coco.
That in Louisiana, and nobody's known me. That's why I put Lenny Coco, because if I said Lenny, that wouldn't who I am.
I love it. You're rolling.